I've missed the last couple of days, and I'm going to make no apologies about it. I was in bed completely detoxing the previous paradigm. I don't know about you, but that's what these eclipses are really about, to prepare us for solstice. So if you've been feeling under the weather, if you've been feeling like you've been sick, I just want to talk to the part of you that knows what's going on, knows that you're moving to a new paradigm, and you absolutely must lay down the baggage of the old. And a lot of this baggage is physical. It's actually in our cells. It's a hormone. It's a pattern. It's a biological repeating process that once we realize that there is another belief or another paradigm, another reality that we can move to, in order to get there, we must detox the old one. We must let it go. So yeah, I just spent the last couple of days in bed, like in pretty much sheer agony of how that felt, to really release that old paradigm. And it's still coming off today. Like, as you can tell, it's still about right here. And mostly it's moved out of throat chakra, but oh my gosh, my pineal and my throat chakra and like all of the major glands in my head, the pituitary, I could feel this throbbing like from within the very center of me, and I could feel what it was excreting down my throat, and which was causing like a burning feeling in my throat. And so experiencing that with awareness was really cool, at the same time as it was uncomfortable, because it isn't just, as some people like to say, a fake it till you make it kind of experience when you evolve consciously. We are literally becoming aware of the processes of the body. That's part of the evolution. And it can be really uncomfortable to be that aware of your physical body, but you have to be. You have to be aware of it, because we are custodians of these bodies. And if we would like to keep going in them, then we have to be good custodians. And of course we have to like have a good time too, and we have to take care of the pleasure part, because that is another major purpose that we are here, is for the pleasure part. And so to balance the custodian nature with the pleasure is a delicate balance. And let's make no mistake about it, some of us get a little bit off on some of the so-called negative emotions of the previous cycle. So I am one of those people, I guess. That's something that I've been learning during this process, is, wow, I must really like get something out of, or feel some kind of rush or something out of experiencing some negative emotions. And then as I started to really look at that, because I hear certain people in my mind, oh, what if you get stuck in that? Or what if you want to be like that forever then? What if that's the way, on the way of making you a bad person, and so forth. And here's what I have to say to that voice. You are who you are. You are who you are at the core of you. And you are evolving, just like the universe is evolving, and there's no getting away from that. And the evolution is spiral, so sometimes it feels like you're going backwards when you're still going forward. And so when you recognize that it's an unveiling and it's a veiling, and it's an unveiling and it's a veiling, and it's an inhaling and it's an exhaling, and it's an oscillation of the universe to go through this pattern of existence and get to know itself in all these facets. It's literally like the cosmos just laying there, breathing in and breathing out. That's it. And sometimes that breathing in and breathing out, the way that it affects the rest of life, are all the nuances of our existence. And so as I'm experiencing some of the negative emotions and maybe even like the enjoyment of them, and I look at why that might be just out of curiosity, I think, well, I spent a good portion of my life being told that those negative emotions were of the devil. And I just decided that's not true. I've realized that the oneness contains all, and it's only in the suppression of our natural state that we create collectively a distortion that is not it. That is what it looks like when you strangulate authenticity. Then you get these offshoots that are not really pure versions of what it's supposed to look like when you're oscillating in positive and negative poles. So, hello. I feel like after the eclipse, we're finally on the other side of that energy. So I'm going to pull a card of the day. Thank you for participating in that little download. Six of Pentacles in the reverse. So Six of Pentacles is the harmonious give and take, which I was just talking about. So then this would be the opposite of that, which is such an interesting concept for us to get to ponder after that. Because it is in this that we again and again get to discard what we think we know and try on something new again. That we're like building around this understanding of ourselves, which this to me says in the oscillation, that giving and receiving energy, there's also an oscillation into where it's very inharmonious. Think about tuning like a violin or a guitar or a stringed instrument or any instrument where you can hear as you're tuning it, the thing come into tune. I feel like I want to walk over into the sun with you because it's so nice. And hopefully I can keep them live. Oh, so good. So, question is setting you up. Let's do this. I'm just going to sit down here. So the Six of Pentacles in the reverse. I got this groovy bench behind me, hand painted, I think, by this woman that I got it from. And sitting out here in the back, it makes me feel like I'm in India, being on these funky seating and so forth. Ah, that's good. Six of Pentacles in the reverse. So this is something that the theme today, because this is something I'm really getting comfortable with, and it's part of like the wake-up call into realness, you know. And I know a lot of people are outraged about some of the things they're learning that have been going on in reality, sort of under the scene, and of course it causes this response, this outrage. Of course it does. It would be insane if it did not. And it's by design, in order to wake someone up from such a complacent status quo, which is also no one's fault. It's been the trance of this earth, that we have been in this entranced state. That's the resonant field Earth has been in the quarantine of the universe. So if the Earth is in this quarantine trance-like state, so that it is not knowingly interacting with the rest of the galaxy, the rest of the allness, think about the kind of pulse that it would need to be to penetrate that field. It would need to be specific and probably finely pointed, like a needle, actually. Funny enough, things show up on every level, every dimension of reality, from the greatest to the smallest, from the most light and ethereal down to the densest version. So as that light comes in, this awareness comes in, a harshness comes in, or like a deepness. It can show up for different people in different ways. If you already allow yourself to be penetrated by the depths of spiritual wisdom, and you've already subjected yourself to the big I don't know, and sort of shed that trance yourself, then it's a very different experience right now, right? Watching people who have not put themselves into that position, who now is a very physical situation. Because reality is going to wake you up one way or the other. But I think the Six of Pentacles reverse is really speaking about being okay with or acknowledging that there isn't always reciprocity in the moment, that it can look very off balance, which is the reminder to our nature to find balance in ourselves. Like if it's so chaotic out there, the only way is harmony within. Which the sunshine is very good at offering. It actually reminds me of my first trip to India. And, you know, my boyfriend at the time was very kind. He had traveled to India many times. He was a religious studies major, Southeast Asian religious studies major, and I was lucky enough to be his girl. God bless that man. Really taught me a lot. And he first took me over there, but first he took me to other Asian countries before India, because he could tell that it was going to be a lot for me to handle, and maybe it would be even too much initially. Excuse me. I'm gonna have to stop talking soon. So he took me to Thailand, and we spent, at least a month, 2 months. We went to Cambodia, which maybe was a bit much for my physical system. It was intense emotionally as well. But it was exquisitely beautiful and mind-opening, and I would love to go back there someday. There's a big cosmology imprint there, but at the time it was just deeply humanly opening, so I think that was a good choice to go for adjustment, because Thailand was just beautiful and fun and different, third world enough, to be like on squat toilets and very in nature, but it felt like, friendly and all of that. You could still get a lot of things, and beautiful beaches too. And this was early in the 2000s, so it was a lot less traveled than now. So it's very much like being alone in a foreign land. But what I'm getting to is, when we first got to India, to Calcutta, we flew into Calcutta, and the streets were exactly like being in the cartoon movie Aladdin. And you'd think that'd be fun, and maybe if you've been there, you understand what I'm saying, but to me it was like, whoa, like I was on a different planet, 100%. Different planet, 100%. People are showering in the street, like sensually, people are offering you things. There's polishers, doing shoes, and like my senses had never been used to taking in that much stimuli all at once, and it sent me into like a stress sort of response. Like my mind didn't know what to do with the information. It was literally like a physical response. wasn't just because I was a wimp or whatever. Like, my body physically didn't know what to do with that input, and it was causing like a response in me. And luckily I had some good training and some things up to that point, or maybe it was just my nature, but I just immediately was like, oh, now I know why people meditate here. It's our airplane. I'm gonna get some water. While that goes by, so all the stimuli in India made me go into a meditative state. It taught me that when all this chaos is going on, I'm going to find my center. And that is a thing, like when life gets into a flurry and chaotic, to survive, you have to find something that you're going to hold on to. Now, that something should be the center of you, but that's not where everybody immediately is trained to go. And I'm going to lose battery here in a moment. Oh my God, I just pulled the same one as last time. I suppose we could go in and get battery. Come on, cat. I didn't realize battery was so low. I'm sorry. Okay, that's interesting. All right, I just pulled. I'll just close it up here in a moment, but bear with me. Ancestor light. We got that same crystal last live, and I didn't do the last 2 lives. I was totally detoxing the eclipses, like I said at the beginning. But ancestral light has carried through, and that actually sort of ties this whole conversation together, in that there's certain things that are going to come up when we're detoxing the old reality that are going to seem foreign to us, even as we're watching ourselves. But some of that stuff is deep, deep ancestral stuff. Some of your anger right now is ancestral stuff. Some of your blame right now is ancestral stuff. Some of your grief right now is ancestral. Some of your discouragement is ancestral. It's coming from your ancestors, unexpressed ancestral stuff. The eclipse went like this into your psyche and dug out all the deepest, darkest stuff it could find. And most Western astrologers say it was on the Sagittarius-Gemini axis, but a Vedic astrologer will tell you it was on the Scorpio-Taurus axis. And I'm feeling that Scorpio. That's the deep, dark transformation, death stuff, taboo stuff, inherited stuff that no one wants to talk about, no one wants to look at. And I personally come from a long line of very strict religious, Christian religious people. Like very strict. Very dedicated. My mom would say it's just devoted. Okay, but devoted with a certain set of behaviors that are associated with that. Because I can be devoted in a completely different way. And some might call that heretical or blasphemous, but it's just the way that feels good to me. And I think that connecting with God feels good, feels right, feels pleasurable. And I get it. I'm kind of a wild girl. I'm kind of a wild child. And so being bound up as a youth, I can feel myself being, like unbind me. Like, let me feel what it feels like to feel myself. And that's what much of my 20s and 30s was. But as I'm getting to the end of my 40s, that's not a cosmic clock by any set of the imagination, but the embodiment that I'm working with right now. And this place, I'm like, I'm starting to get good with choosing, like, you know, the parameter in which I really express myself that feels good, and that I have my personal boundary, my personal field, my personal set. And I think that as we are awakening and evolving, we each find that. But first we have to get comfortable with all the parts of ourself, which is what I've spent the 40s doing. Getting comfortable with all the parts of myself that society tells me to hate, that churches tell me are unchaste, that, you know, like people don't want to talk about, or they don't want to hear, or that are grounds for leaving people. There's parts of those that exist in me and have existed in me in the past. Some of that is not present now, but I certainly used some of those pathways to find my nature, to find what really was right. And some of you might think that some of those ways are messed up, but that's the way my consciousness had to do it. Like I had to experience certain parts of me that didn't feel good too. Didn't feel good. But I had to know, like, I also wanted to not be able to judge people. I wanted to be able to not judge people, to be able to really see the heart of why somebody's doing something. Because everyone's always wanting to find love. It doesn't matter how you're expressing it. That's all anyone's ever wanting is love, and to feel love, to love, and to be loved. Just the love. To feel worthy of love. So every behavior suddenly, especially when you have put some of those personas on, then you're like, can have compassion for certain people. Like if you're a guy and you're having problems in your relationship, or then you want me to be talking to your woman, because I have so much compassion for men. Just I have had like a lot of men in my life and a lot of partnerships, and I've also done wrong. I've done man things that women hate when their men do. Like I've done those things. So men generally love me to talk to their women because I relate. I understand. I have compassion. I want to help women see that their man is still good, that they're really just trying to be a better man for you, and they are trying to feel better about themselves. So, I know this is a long live today, but I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be at day 26. That means it's only about 10 days till my birthday. No, it's the 16th here today, or this, not the 16th, the 6th. So the 10 days will only be to the 16th. We're a few weeks out. Solstice is 2 weeks from tomorrow. Sending you sunshine from where I'm at, if there isn't any where you're at. And remember the reversed Six of Pentacles. Just sort of notice what's out of balance. Oh, and here's the tricky paradoxical part about that. How can you find that there is balance with the out of balance? Where is the out of balance actually in balance? And you've just been calling it out of balance. Okay, let's see next one.